Hello, welcome to Just the Dis. My name is Brian, and we talk about Blu-rays here. And for this episode, I'm going to talk about the October releases from Warner Archive, who, as I've said before, is having a pretty banner year and putting out some long-awaited stuff, and definitely a couple in here that are part of, for me, a lot of titles that I've been wanting on Blu-ray for a long time. So they're doing good work, and just to briefly, as I've been doing, talk about what's coming from them. In November, we have a bunch of titles. Actually, one of their bigger rounds, both October and November are packed with titles. So first we have Fury with Spencer Tracy, the Fritz Lang film, which I think I've seen, but is a little foggy, so it's going to be great to revisit that on Blue. My favorite of the entire month is Last of Sheila, which is a movie that was written by Stephen Sondheim and Anthony Perkins. It's got an all-star cast, including Diane Cannon, Richard Benjamin, oh boy, Ian McShane, Raquel Welch. It's a packed cast, but it's a really great mystery story, kind of on a boat, but it's sort of based off the practice of Sondheim and Anthony Perkins, in that they love to do little game things. Like, they would just put together little games, and that was just something they really enjoyed. And so this is born out of that, and it's a really great mystery script and movie, and was a big inspiration for Rian Johnson and Knives Out. He mentioned it as one of a handful of films that directly inspired Knives Out, and I just cannot wait for this Blu-ray. So that's really exciting. Lullaby of Broadway with Doris Day, continuing the Thin Man series with Thin Man Goes Home. So that's 5 of 6, I think. So we will have hopefully a 6th film and close out the whole series on Blu-ray, which is great. National Velvet with Liz Taylor. Some Came Running, very exciting one here, with Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin and Shirley MacLaine. Just a really great character drama. And I know that Richard Linklater is a huge fan of this one. In fact, I first saw it on VHS because it was on some list, or he mentioned it somewhere, and I was like, what is that movie? And it is definitely two of the best performances from Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin, and Shirley MacLaine as well, who had a lot of great performances. So they're all there together. It's just a really great movie. Party Girl, Nicholas Ray's film Party Girl with Sid Charisse and Robert Taylor and Lee J. Cobb. It's a great sort of gangster mall kind of movie. Big fan of that one. That's getting a nice Blu-ray. Pre-code film with Barbara Stanwyck called The Ladies They Talk About. And that is coming, all of that, in November. So that's exciting stuff. And so let's get into this group from October. I'll start with my favorite. I like to do that. And this is one of those movies that I've been wanting on Blu-ray forever. So glad they finally put it out. Night Shift, Ron Howard's film from, I think, 1982. And it is just an absolute gem. You know, just in rewatching it, I was reminded how much I like it, how much I miss the early sort of looser Ron Howard, the guy that was coming out of the Corman School. And this feels like, you know, a higher budget Corman idea. You know, this idea of a couple of enterprising gentlemen played by Henry Winkler and the great Michael Keaton, who come up with the idea to sort of run a prostitution ring out of the morgue where they're working. And it's just such a great, I think, kind of a throwback screwball comedy in a way, because you just have this really henpecked, nebbish kind of guy played by Winkler, who is always put upon, gets shoved onto the night shift at the beginning of the movie so that his bosses, or his superiors, son-in-law, who's like a complete idiot who just watches cartoons during the day shift all day, can take over at night. And he takes it, and It's just a well-constructed screenplay in terms of setting up all the things that he deals with. His fiance, who is like pretty ridiculous and difficult to deal with, but he deals with her. And then this prostitute played by Shelley Long, who he meets at the morgue after her pimp is killed in the opening scene of the movie, which is like almost like a blaxploitation movie scene where this guy gets thrown out a window by Richard Belzer and another thug because he hasn't been paying off. And so they're left without a pimp, and that opens up for, Henry Winkler and Michael Keaton. And Michael Keaton is another thing I miss about this period. Is this is early Michael Keaton, one of his sort of breakout roles. He just has this incredible manic energy that is so infectious, and his just sense of humor and just rambunctiousness are just so wonderful. And I miss that guy. I love that guy. I love Michael Keaton in general, but boy, is he funny in this. Just ridiculous character with ridiculous ideas. He carries around a tape recorder to record his ideas. And anyway, I was thinking like there's a lot of double features that could work with this, but one of them I think would be great is to do What's Up Doc with Night Shift, because I really do feel like it is similarly a throwback to that sort of character, and it's just delightful. So no special features. I would love to get a Ron Howard commentary on this. Unfortunately, that's not the case, but the transfer looks good, and it's just a fantastic movie. One of those movies that I think built up a following from showing on HBO way back, and is just, I don't know, I cannot talk about my love for it enough. Songs, original music by Burt Bacharach, I mean, it's just great. So so excited to have that one. Next up, we have Eye of the Devil, and this is from 1966. This, along with The Wicker Man, are some films that you might see as influences to Midsommar. They're definitely that kind of cult movie, if you will. In this case, we have David Niven, who is, I think, married to Deborah Kerr, and he is called back to his old castle, basically, where he used to live. It's sort of a life he hasn't talked about that much to her, and what's involved is that there's a group of people that worship, I don't want to give away too much, but basically the idea is that every, certain amount of time, I forget if it says how many years, but the the one of the family members, the eldest family members of his family, which is sort of part of this cult thing, has to come back and help with something, and I'm not going to go into it, but it's creepy stuff along the lines of The Wicker Man, sort of, and it's just a really well-made, tense film. It's got, as you can see, David Hemmings with the bow and arrow, and Sharon Tate in one of my favorite Sharon Tate roles, although it doesn't give her a lot to do, but she does quite a bit with a little, if you will. But it is just one of those really creepy, unsettling movies, and it says a forbidden French chateau and its surrounding vineyards are the setting for gothic thrills in this haunting excursion into the occult. Deborah Kerr and David Niven, co-starring for the first time since Separate Tables, lead an exceptional cast. Oh, Donald Pleasance is in here too. In a chiller reminiscent of the later Wicker Man, in which an innocent outsider to an enclosed world peels back layers of mystery to reveal a shocking truth. Kerr plays the outsider, the wife of the troubled Marquis, David Niven, who discovers perhaps too late that her husband's ancestral chateau home to witches, warlocks, and a sinister priest. Anyway, I'm probably giving away too much, but I just feel like I got to sell this one a little harder because it's black and white, but it's really good. Joe Dante is a big fan of this movie. Well worth your time. Definitely excited to have this on Blu-ray as well. Directed by J. Lee Thompson. Continuing sort of classic horror, we have Mad Love from 1935, and this is a real gem if you haven't seen it, and I feel like it's known because of the Peter Lorre performance, but it's not as known as it should be, and by that I mean it's like right in line with the Universal horror films. It even has Colin Clive, who plays Frankenstein and Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein, I mean. And it's just one of those movies that's just great horror story. And the idea is that Laurie plays this doctor who's in love with this actress. He's obsessed with her. He goes to like every performance that she does. She is betrothed. She's going to be married to Colin Clive's character. He's a piano player. He has a train accident, I think, and his hands are crushed. And in an effort to gain her affections, Peter Lorre is going to do the surgery to repair his hands, but Colin Clive's hands are too badly damaged, and the only thing he can come up with is that there was a prisoner who he ran into on a train who was just executed, who was like a deadly knife thrower, like was throwing knives since he was a kid, killed many people with knives. And so they take his hands and they graft them onto Colin Clive, and what you have is kind of the original body parts. And that's just the gist of the story, but it's a great unhinged, Peter Lorre performance, and this transfer looks beautiful, and it includes a commentary track from Steve Haberman, who has done a bunch of commentaries on the Universal horror movies. So it sort of all connects, and it makes sense that Haberman would do this commentary because he's, well versed in this world. And anyway, just a really solid movie, and only runs 68 minutes, but packs a nice punch, and it's just a classic waiting to be more classic, if you will. So looks great, as I said, mad love. Then we have continuing the Val Lewton stuff. A few months back, we had Isle of the Dead, which Warner Archive put out, and now we have this Ghost Ship and Bedlam double bill. So this is 2 Val Lewton produced films, Bedlam being the last of 3 Karloff pictures that they made. I think the first one might be this, which is my favorite. The Body Snatchers is actually maybe my favorite Val Lewton film. Just a really great, again, gothic horror with Mr. Karloff. Lugosi is in this as well, playing an undertaker who helps a medical doctor who's training. He's a medical doctor teacher, kind of, and he gets in bodies, and it gets complicated and blah, blah, blah. Very good. Bedlam is a little different. Bedlam is about a famous British asylum it's sort of based on, which was notoriously awful in terms of the way that the inmates, patients were treated. And in this case, we have a story of basically a lord whose friend, I guess, was in the asylum and is killed pretty straight up when he's trying to escape the asylum. The opening shot of the movie is him hanging on a gutter, and one of the staff of the institute comes out and steps on his hand, so he drops to his death. And we come to find out that the guy actually was working on some kind of entertainment for this lord. He'd already paid him $20, which was obviously huge money back in the period. This is set in 1761. And so this guy owed him some entertainment, and he couldn't deliver because he's dead. So Karloff's character, who is based on a real guy, I think, who ran this asylum, he offers to put together a little show with his loonies, if you will, the people at the asylum, for the entertainment of this lord. But before he is able to do that, the protege, this woman played by Edith Barrett, I think, goes with the Karloff character to the asylum and is so horrified by the conditions there. And it's literally like a big open room with like hay on the floor and people screaming, and it's just awful, just terrible. And she sees this and is just like immediately like decides she wants to shut him down. And then it starts to turn into I'm going to try and have you committed here, so you can't turn me in kind of scenario, kind of like gaslighting kind of scenario. And it kind of goes from there. And I don't want to give away too much more, but it's definitely an effective Karloff performance. He's very good in it. Still a lesser Luton for me at the end of the day, but I still enjoy it. And I think the Luton Karloff, combo collaborations were really great. And this one also has a commentary from Tom Weaver, who actually I might have been thinking of Tom Weaver that did all the Universals, although I feel like Haberman did some too. But anyway, both Haberman and Tom Weaver, two of the best in terms of classic horror of this period. And so that's a really great commentary track. Weaver's really good. That's the only special feature on this other than the trailers. But then you have also Ghost Ship, which is not as ghosty as I would like, but it is more about a haunted man, if you will. So you have a merchant marine that joins this ship, and he becomes friendly with the captain, but immediately, soon after joining the ship, he realizes the captain's a little off. And the captain's played by Richard Dix, and it just becomes almost a mutiny, almost a Kane mutiny or Seawolf kind of scenario where you have just one guy who's like, well, we got to do something about this crazy guy, this captain, because he'll let his members of his crew get killed, and he's generally outwardly nice, but ultimately kind of crazy. And so it's just this ongoing psychological battle between him and this new guy, and it just goes on. And it's good, but it's not as, there's a mute character who speaks only an inner monologue. He's almost like a Greek chorus. And so it's intriguing to have the presence of that character. It makes the film, some of the crew members think the ship is haunted, and maybe that's what's affecting the captain, making him crazy. Who knows? But it's not as ghostly, if that's what you're expecting. It's not quite that. Again, it's a little bit more of a mutiny kind of movie, but still with some gothic horror undertones. So definitely excited to have this double bill. Love Luton on Blu-ray. We still need Seventh Victim and I Walked with a Zombie. Come on Criterion, but I'll take Warner Archive if that's what's coming. Next up, we have Children of the Damned. This is from 1963. Yes. The follow-up to the 1960 film Village of the Damned, which had come out from Warner Archive in 2018, I think. So now we have the follow-up film, and this one says 6 gifted children are found to pose a threat to the world in this chilling horror story from the makers of Village of the Damned. The children, who all live in England but are from different parts of the world, are normal in all respects except that they are geniuses with acute psychic powers. They have more in common than their IQs, however. None of them have fathers, and no one seems to know where they came from. When a psychologist, Ian Hendry from TV's The Avengers, attempts to find out more, he unlocks the mystery that could lead to the destruction of the universe. That's a little grandiose, but it is that kind of movie where these kids ultimately start to band together, and then they can take over somebody's aunt to help them live in this abandoned church, and then there's gonna be some kind of big standoff at the end. It's that kind of a movie, and it's pretty effective. The kids are creepy. I'm not a big fan of creepy kid horror. I just don't find it necessarily the kind of thing that works for me in terms of the menace. But when you have kids with psychic powers, it's kind of okay. It kind of works. So anyway, another great looking transfer. This one has a commentary by screenwriter John Briley. And that is it, but it's nice to get a commentary on a Warner Archive Blu-ray. And so good stuff for Halloween, October. Children of the Damned, a little classic. And then we have some pre-Cody kind of stuff. 1933, Dinner at 8. This is quite an epic in terms of the cast. It's directed by George Cukor. It is produced by David O. Selznick. It is based on a play by George S. Kaufman, who was a big writer for the Marx Brothers. And this is not like a Marx Brothers movie, but it is definitely sort of crazy, sort of screwball comedy drama thing. And it's pretty awesome. It's pretty cool. As you can see here, John Barrymore, Wallace Beery, Jean Harlow, Lionel Barrymore, Lee Tracy, Edmund Lowe, Billy Burke. You know, it's a really good cast, and you know, just a classic film. Dinner at 8, a vastly entertaining behind-closed-doors glimpse into the lives of the troubled and troublemaking who's who of people invited to a posh Manhattan party, is served with ample helpings of humor and melodrama, buoyed by the success of the studio's multi-starred, multi-storied Grand Hotel. The year before, producer David O. Selznick aspired to something grander and found it in this George Cukor-directed adaptation of George S. Kaufman, Edna Ferber's stage hit. Highlights include Jean Harlow and Wallace Beery's bitter battle of the sexes, hostess Billy Burke's tizzy fit, and Marie Dressler's grand dame worldliness. Of course, there's only one way to catch all the great moments in Dinner at 8. Don't be late. Again, this looks great. All these look really good, and I love the black and white Blu-ray. It just, when the transfers are solid as they are with the Warner Archive Blu-rays, it's just really... It's something I love to luxuriate in. This one has a documentary profile on Jean Harlow, Blonde Bombshell, hosted by Sharon Stone, and a comedy short. But, you know, a classic, as it says, in the wake of Grand Hotel. And then lastly, I haven't had a chance to check this one out yet, but another pre-code. This is from 1933 as well. Mary Stevens, M.D., starring Kay Francis and Glenda Farrell. And this one... says new doctors Mary Stevens, Kay Francis, and Don Andrews launched their practices in the same medical building, where Mary dedicates herself to her patients while facing constant prejudice for being a woman. Despite Mary's love for him, Don falls for Louis Rising, Thelma Todd, also in this, the daughter of a powerful politician, and the two eventually marry, leaving a broken-hearted Mary to move on and focus on her work. As Mary becomes a successful pediatrician, Don's marriage deteriorates, driving him to drink and eventually threatening his career. Escaping to a resort, he unexpectedly runs into Mary, and the two rekindle their old love. But when Mary finds herself pregnant while scandalously unwed, she's faced with a dilemma that could destroy everything she's achieved. What follows is pure vintage Warner pre-code melodrama with a shining performance from Francis at the very best. So this looks very interesting to me, and I'm a Kay Francis fan and Glenda Farrell fan, and it just looks like it's going to be an interesting pre-code, and one that may have come out as part of one of the DVD sets, but I don't even remember it. So it could be a new to me pre-code. Like, I mean, I haven't seen it, but I don't think I even have a DVD of it. So that is the last one from this group from Warner Archive for October. So hopefully there's something in here for everyone. Definitely something in here for the classic horror fans. But Night Shift, baby, that is what I'm all about. Such a great comedy. I just can't get over how good it is, you know? Too darn funny. Anyway, thank you so much for taking the time, and have a wonderful week filled with Blu-rays if you can. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.